Hi all, welcome back. I will be your host for today's lecture. I'm Martin, and please let me introduce Aleksandra. Aleksandra is a full-stack developer in Otwarte Klocki Poland, Open Cages Poland. She's skilled with web technologies, and she's responsible for implementing new IT solutions, as well as maintaining existing projects and infrastructure. So please welcome Ola, and let's hear her what she has to say.
Okay, mic check. So, hi everyone. My name is Aleksandra, and I'm a full stack developer in Otwarte Klocki Poland and Anima International. If you don't know what my job title means, that's two of us. Okay, just kidding. I'm basically the person that does a little bit of everything in the IT team, which means front-end, back-end, administration, and infrastructure tasks. Let me just say that I'm super excited to be here, but also terrified as it is my first CARE conference as a speaker. So today I want to answer some questions with you. First of all, why need an IT team in the first place? Then I will talk about what our team actually does. We will also talk about the IT challenges that comes with working in the non-profit organization. Then I want to show you our templates and tell a little bit about their pros and cons. And the last question would be what's next? So what is ahead of our team? So let's start with the first question. Why need an IT team in the first place? A strong online presence and wide reach are crucial for campaigning and acquiring new leads or donations. To grow fast as an effective organization, you will eventually need various tools to optimize your work and handle increasing amounts of data. Of course, there are many paid solutions on the market, but those tailored for your needs may turn out to be much more useful. For example, thanks to our template system, activists can create a crowdfunding or a petition website in just a few clicks. This not only saves our time and resources, but also allows us to react quicker than ever to press releases or media coverage. Also, implementing recurring payments had a significant impact on the donations we obtain, contributing to our funds every month. So I guess you can say that the title of my presentation is a little bit deceitful. Having an IT team can be actually beneficial for your organization, especially in the long term. On the other hand, as developers working for an animal charity, we should strive to empower users by building solutions that will allow them to be independent instead of relying on our help. And those are the challenges that I would like to tell you about today. But first, a few words about what our IT team actually does, besides of breaking things, as some may say. So currently, IT people are scattered across all Anima International countries. So I will focus mainly on two IT teams, Polish team and the global one. Our main responsibilities are implementing new projects and solutions, maintenance and IT support, as well as internal infrastructure and documentation. So whenever someone needs a new website, tool, or a feature, they can contact us by sending a request that will be further prioritized and estimated by our team. Sometimes it may require the whole workflow with project calls, testing, and dedicated workspaces. It depends really on the project scope. IT support and maintaining existing projects means implementing minor changes and fixes, as well as helping users with their questions or encountered issues. The last thing, working on our internal infrastructure, is basically optimizing and rechecking all of our systems, servers, deployments, so that they are sustainable and reliable in the future. We also create tons of documentation and user guides so that it's easier to use and share our tools. This is actually the worst part of our job, but it's really necessary. And yeah, that's what Just Heroes do. Okay, but what are the IT challenges in the nonprofit organization? As you probably may know, trying to keep up with a rapidly growing organization can be very challenging. We came to a point when in 1 year we needed dozens of petition websites plus several online crowdfundings. The petitions are especially tricky because we very often want to launch them after some important investigation or a press release. So we would have a day or two to set them up on the internet. And add to this increasing number of new projects and many old ones that need maintenance. And there you have it, a perfect recipe for a disaster or at least a massive bottleneck. Hence the decision of hiring developers. After putting down the most important fires, we finally had time to focus on properly optimizing and working on the most repetitive and urgent tasks. And that's how we came up with the template system, which is one of our biggest time savers. So what is a template, you may ask? We can compare it to a cake mold or a stencil. So basically a project with some predefined form that can be easily reused to create copies of itself. The main idea here is that you can just quickly replace content and pictures and your website is ready to go. It looks something like this. So we have the CMS, which stands for Content Management System, to allow users to edit pages content. We use WordPress for that, mainly because it was used in our organization before. And although it is not the cutting edge technology, it's reliable and widely supported. So we decided to stick with it. It was more of a user first approach. There we have our custom plugins installed for petitions, for crowdfundings and conferences, as well as a few plugins like advanced custom fields or advanced custom fields to REST API, so that we can add some custom data and pull it from the WordPress. And basically creating a new website is very similar to creating a post. So users choose what type of page they want to add, fill all the required fields with their content, and click publish, and that's it. Then we have our front-end app written in Vue.js and Nuxt.js. We use Vue.js because it's popular, easy to use, and has a less steep learning curve than other JavaScript frameworks like React or Angular. We also use Nuxt because it is additionally SEO friendly and has a lot of built-in features and modules. For views, we use Pack Template Engine and Sass for our styles. So the application works like that. Depending on the URL path, the application displays the given page content. So it is one code base with one core template, but it can display a lot of different subpages with the same layouts. Now I want to show you a little bit of examples. So first we have petition templates. They are optimized for, well, basically converting well. We implemented them with the fundraising team and marketing team, so we were working on it together. And as you may see, they have a little bit differences between each other for Polish, UK, or Russian templates and so on, but the core template is the same and they have the same code base. We also have crowdfunding templates, which are optimized for fundraising purposes, and they focus on acquiring new donors and new donations. They also can differ a little bit from each other, depending on the country. We have, for example, different payment widgets or payment options, but the code and the template mechanism is the same. And also we have this new template system for conferences. And here the fun fact is that this year's CARE conference is actually built with this template. So next year, if we want to launch the new CARE edition website, it will take just a few clicks to do it. So yeah, that's a cool feature. And also we have the templates for plant-based campaigns conference, which is called Plant-Powered Perspectives. So from this year, they also will use templates to generate their events websites. Okay, so what are the pros and cons of these solutions? Because of course, as every other solution, templates have their advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages include quick and easy to set up. Basically, creating new petition, crowdfunding, or conference website takes only a couple of minutes. Of course, we are not talking about, gathering content, editing texts, and so on, but just the tech aspect of it, so website aspect of it, really takes only a couple of minutes to launch. No IT team help needed. Yeah, that's the important one, because as an IT team, we can focus on other tasks and other projects, and also other people don't have to wait for us if they want to launch something or start with a new campaign. Empowering users. So basically, campaigners and content managers can decide when and what to publish. They have more control over our websites, and they can manage them independently. It saves a lot of time, as I said before. I think that with the previous templates, of course, we also have like a basic project that we could copy over and over again, but still we would have to wait for a content, and we would have to configure it from scratch and deploy it. So I would say before it took from maybe 8 to 16 hours to do it, and now it takes only a couple of minutes. And yes, they are optimized for marketing and fundraising. As I mentioned before, we were working on those templates with marketing team, with fundraising team, on the conference ones, also with the event team. So we really focused on using our expertise and our previous experience to make them convert better, to make them just be more effective as a tool. Okay, but what are the disadvantages? So they include lack of flexibility. So due to predefined layout and sections, you cannot really mess around with them. You cannot really change their order or hide of some of them or add new ones. So you really have to rely on what is already there in the template. They are hard to customize by users. So you can edit the content, but you cannot really customize the template itself. You cannot really change the colors or the font. You can use what you have in the template, but you cannot really personalize it further. And they are hard to change by developers a little bit. And what does it mean is that any changes that we want to make to an existing template must be carefully tested and thought out, as it will impact every single website that's based on the template. So anytime you want some new feature or we want to implement some change, we really have to remember about like the bigger picture, and really think it through if we need it and how to implement that. So as you can see, there are some major trade-offs between speed and flexibility, ease of use and customization, but overall, those templates are massive improvement compared to creating pages from scratch. Okay, so what's next? What's next for our IT team? So there is this meme about the website never being done, and I can't stress enough how true that is. So of course, we will continue to create new tools and improve existing ones based on our end users' feedback. Keep in mind though that in most cases, starting with a good enough tool is better than not starting at all or having no tool at all. So only after finishing the most important tasks, you can think about further improvements. But really, at the beginning, it's better to just focus on having a good enough tool. So we have this idea of going open source. We would like to make our tools and solutions open source so that other developers can use them and maybe even improve them. That step, however, would involve quite a commitment from our side to keep those projects maintained, patched, and updated. So we are still working on this, but definitely it would be a huge milestone for us. And there is the helping other organizations. So sadly, not every organization has their own IT team or even access to IT specialists. We would be happy to help others, providing consultation and guidance with their infrastructure, projects and development opportunities. It's more of a far future plan for our Anima International IT global team, but we are open to any collaborations and possibilities. And yeah, I think that what is really important is that as an IT team, we never stop to search for the best technological solutions so that our organization can be even more effective. We try to empower our users and our activists by designing the tools suited to their needs, even though it sometimes means failing and trying again. And as counterintuitive as it may sound, I hope that one day we won't be needed at all. Yeah, maybe one day. Okay, and I think that's all. Thank you for listening. Feel free to reach out. Here is my email address. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer them during the Q&A session.
Yeah. So thank you, Ola, for your presentation. So there is one question for now, but please ask the question in the live questions tab. So the first question is, why would an animal advocacy organization hire developers instead of outsourcing IT work to external contractors or using some available tools?
Yeah, this is actually a very good question. I guess it all depends on your organization size, on scope of your project, and basically like the amount of work that you plan to do. But I would say that at the beginning, sometimes it really makes sense to use some tools that are already there on the market, as well as just outsource some external developers or a company to help you. But as I said in my presentation, in the long term, I think it's really beneficial to have the team and the specialist who can support you and be somehow aligned with your organization. So to understand really well what is your goal, what are your needs, what do you want to achieve, and how to be really effective with it. And I think that this is somehow this is something that is really hard to achieve with just some outsourcing. Maybe it is possible, but in our case, I think it's really beneficial that we understand our organization. We cooperate really tightly with other teams, like, as I said, fundraising or marketing, so that we can work on better solutions for them.
Okay, so there's a quite of similar question. Would it be possible to achieve similar results using something like a static site generator, like Hugo or Jekyll?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also a good question. There are a lot of page builders there on the market, some static generators, and just things that you can basically configure and set up live on the internet. But the question is, are they really optimized for your needs, right? I can say from my experience that working on those petitions or crowdfundings, it was kind of a hard job for us to really design something that will work for the either gaining new leads or new donors and donations. So I guess at the beginning, it's all good and it's all fine. And definitely, if you need a website and you don't have someone that can do it for you or design it for you, that's also a good solution. I think it's better to use it than not to be present in internet or not to have those internet presence, but still the websites that can be designed by your IT team will be more tailored to your needs and more optimized for that.
Mm-hmm. And the other question is, what are some mistakes you did or observed when creating such team in Animal Advocacy Group?
Oh boy, the mistakes we made, there are plenty of them. Fun fact is that we actually have this whole report system for all the incidents, mistakes, and errors that we make. And I don't remember if there is a month without any mistake or any error that we made. So this is kind of what we specialize in. But with this project, I think that we tried a different approach with petitions or with crowdfundings. Of course, the input of marketing and fundraising team was very useful and super valuable because I think the biggest caveat or just a mistake that a developer or IT team can make is to just trust what you know as a developer and as an IT team. And you have to remember that in working with animal charity, sometimes you just have to throw it all to the trash can and just trust the expertise of fundraising and marketing to do your job so that the tools will work and they will be optimized. So I guess for me, sometimes the mistake was that I had my intuition as a developer or my previous knowledge or experience, but you have to remember that this is like this can be very different than creating stuff for clients or just in corporate environment.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. So the last question is, what about templates for crowdfunding? Are they made for different crowdfunding platforms, or how does it work? Can you say a little bit more about it?
Sure. So our crowdfunding templates and websites work like that they are hosted and deployed on our site. So we don't use actually any like external crowdfunding platforms. In that mean that we don't use like platform that already exists and serves for crowdfunding, mostly because many of them have this additional fee that you have to pay, or that is just extracted from the money you will gather, and that's something that we don't want to give up if we can do it by our own. So it's like it has the same code base as the petition templates, and the only thing that differs, for example, from country to country is the payment widget itself. It was created by one of our IT team members, and basically it works like that for example, for Ukraine, we have different payment options. For Poland or UK, we have different ones, but it's just embedded on the same template on the same website. And that's how we do it. We just have our own custom payment widget and our own custom templates to do a crowdfunding website.
Yeah, okay. We have, I think, time for 2 more questions. So There's one, what is the one thing that you wish non-IT people would know about your work that would make your job much easier?
Oh God. Um, so I guess maybe that if we don't have time or resources to do something, it really doesn't mean that we don't want to, or that we are just, I don't know, that we don't like you, or this is all just us trying to prioritize tasks. And I think this is something that we struggle the most as an IT team. We have many requests for new things, for new projects and new features, or some even like changes or fixes. And sometimes you just have to say, no, sorry, we can't do it right now. You have to wait. And I think for this is something that most IT supports deal with, you have to wait your turn to have something done. And I think this is like what we struggle the most. So yeah, I wish people just knew that we are not robots, we are only human beings, and we really try our best to keep up with all of your needs.
Okay, so the very last question, what advice would you give to an organization which can't yet afford an IT team?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I would say really think about your priorities and your needs, and try to figure out how many of things that you need can be actually, as we said before, maybe bought as some external plugin, or just use some platform that is already there, or maybe even a thing about hiring like one-time external developer to just help you get started. But I think that it's really important to just start with a good enough, and then from there go scale your infrastructure up. But don't focus on having like the perfect solution immediately. Just start with good enough tool, and then build your way to the team or to the IT specialist if you need them.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so thank you very much for the lecture and for the Q&A session. Now, please, guys, if you want to ask more questions or talk about something, there is a link in the chat for our networking session. So thank you all once again, and see you later.
Thank you.